You know, I had a kind of a scare here the other day. I live out in the country. I don't hardly ever get any visitors at all. The only people I ever seen was, we had a FedEx guy come by the house one time, but that was just the wrong number. So, I had a census guy come by one time, and I was glad to see him. I brought him in, gave some of that good sweet tea and some sugar cookies. We just had a good all time. But, other than that, I just don't really get very many visitors. So, one afternoon, I was sat there watching the TV, and there was a knock at the door. I sat there, got up with her and opened up the door. There's two women. I thought, my God, I've hit the jackpot. It's a publisher's clearinghouse, people. I said, I'm so happy. And I opened up the door, and the woman said, we got some good news for you. I said, thank God, I finally won. I said, man, I was in 100 on hobby lobbies, and so I said, come on in. I sat them down there on the couch and went and got my good sweet tea and some sugar cookies. And I just sat by a recliner. I'm just waiting for the good news. I'm like, I'm not going to spend all this money. And, they reached out and, you got that little old satchel thing they carry, laid up there on the coffee table, and started pulling out these papers. I thought, oh my God, here comes my forms I got to fill out. All at once, one of them reached down in there. She pulled out a Bible. I thought, oh my God, they're not publisher clearinghouse people. They're Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh Lord. I can't stand this. I remember a guy at work told me, he said, he made a mistake of letting him in his house one day, and, they didn't leave for 3 days. Oh my God, I know what I'm going to do. I'm sitting there thinking how to get rid of these people. They just kept on, talking about they had the good news for me. And the best news you can give me, ladies, when you go out the back door. But anyhow, I was sitting there thinking, how am I going to get rid of these women? And, then it dawned on me, I'll go in there and get the cat's litter box. I ain't cleaned that in 3 weeks. I'll clean it right here from, and that'll get them out of here, So I went in there and got the cat's litter box. And, I'll sit there in front of him and maybe reclining, and I cleaned the old poopy scoopy out of it. Oh, it was terrible. I like to lost it. I looked up, and they never even missed a beat. They kept on talking, Oh God. This is going to take desperate things to get these people out of my house. And so, I told them about them pickled eggs I had in a jar back there since 1967. I remember last time I ate some of them over, at my cousin's house. I said, I cut wind with that. Knocked out Aunt Helen and Uncle Joe. I said, this'll do it. I went there and I was popping them pickled eggs left and right, and I said, here about 2 hours, I figured, I get some gassy blasty. I cut one, I get rid of these people. Well, after about 3 hours listening to the good news, I was going to let them have a little good news themselves. And so, I felt the gas building up. Finally, I let one go. Oh, it was a dilly, I tell you. The little cat passed out, the dog got to howling. The old plastic plant I had the extra recliner wilted over. I looked up expecting them old Jehovah's Witnesses to be gone, and they were still going strong, oh my God, desperate times. I guess I'm going to have to sacrifice somebody. So I said, I really like hearing all this good news, but who really like all this good news? My cousin Steve and his 18 kids. And man, their eyes got big around as them Milky saucers. They said, 18 kids. I said, oh yeah, they ain't never been in church, And, they just live down the road. I said, you just go down the road about 2 miles, take a sharp right, and you're right there at them, Man, I tell you one thing, they gathered up on the forms and Bibles and satchels, and they hit the door, jumped in their old car, roared down the highway. They didn't even say so much as a goodbye, I know you're probably thinking, that wasn't very smart, they get through your cousin. They're going to be back down here to see you. I tell you what, no, this old brain ain't dumb as it looks. Because, you go 2 miles down the road there and make a sharp right, you're going to cross the river. The thing about that is the bridge was out last spring.